What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA playoffs. Friday, June 11th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 2-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Ben Simmons has averaged 36.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 25, 47, and 53 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 37, and 39 minutes. He's projected at 42 fantasy points here tonight. On FanDuel, that's 4.9 times value because he's 8,600 FanDuel salary, but he's 900 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. Now, Ben Simmons is coming off of a bad game, so I'm looking for a bounce back game here tonight. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game. It's a good matchup, so I like Ben Simmons here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, another point guard that I like, even more than Ben Simmons, is Chris Paul from the Phoenix Suns playing the Denver Nuggets. Chris Paul has averaged 37.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He scored 49, 47, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 35, and 28 minutes. He's projected at 40 fantasy points here tonight. Now on FanDuel, that's 4.9 times value. He's 8,200 FanDuel salary, but he's 1,100 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game. So I like Chris Paul here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. This is one of my favorite value plays on the slate. A little bit risky, but he's playing a ton of minutes lately. So I like Kevin Huerter from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Philadelphia 76ers. Kevin Huerter has averaged 24.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He scored 27, 29, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 35, 28, and 20 minutes. He's projected at 27 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 5,300 FanDuel salary, and he's 600 less on DraftKings. So I like that he played 35 minutes last game. He's got a good chance to crush value here. So I like Kevin Huerter here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, now this next pick, it's a high risk, high reward play, tournament play only, but he's super low salary and he does have some upside here. So take a look at Torrey Craig from the Phoenix Suns playing the Denver Nuggets. Torrey Craig has scored 22 and 25 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 14 and 17 minutes. He's projected at 18 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5 times value. He's 3,600 FanDuel salary, and he's 500 less on DraftKings. So if you're looking for a super low salary play to open up your salary for the rest of your lineup, and a guy that can get you 20 plus fantasy points, granted he's not playing a ton of minutes, but I think he's got a good shot to hit value here, especially on DraftKings. So I like Torrey Craig as a high risk, high reward play here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Danilo Gallinari from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Philadelphia 76ers. Danilo Gallinari has averaged 22 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He scored 35 fantasy points last game. He played 26 minutes. He's projected at 27 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $5,400 FanDuel salary, and he's $600 less on DraftKings. So I would consider this a high risk, high reward play because he really hasn't done much up until the game yesterday. But if he's going to play 25 minutes or more, I think that he can score 25 fantasy points or more. And on DraftKings, that would be 5 times value or more. So I'm leaning towards a DraftKings play only, but I like Danilo Gallinari here versus the Philadelphia 76ers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, another small forward that I like is Danny Green from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Atlanta Hawks. Danny Green has averaged 22 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 14% usage rate. He scored 30, 17, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 25, 29, and 29 minutes. He's projected at 24 fantasy points here tonight. On FanDuel, that's 4.8 times value. He's $5,000 FanDuel salary, and he's $500 less on DraftKings. So it looks like Danny Green, his minutes are a little bit more secure than Gallinari, and it looks like you're going to pay a little bit less for him. So I might prefer Danny Green over Gallo, but I think they're both decent mid-range plays here. You got to save your salary in your lineup somewhere. I think these players are a good spot to do it. They both have 30 plus fantasy point upside, and I think they're both going to get around 25 to 35 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Danny Green here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Tobias Harris from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Atlanta Hawks. Tobias Harris has averaged 36.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He scored 39, 43, and 60 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 35, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 42 fantasy points here tonight. Now on FanDuel, that's only 4.8 times value because he's $8,800 FanDuel salary, but he's $800 less on DraftKings. So I like that DraftKings price. This is a guy who's been pretty consistent throughout the playoffs. The minutes have been up there, so I think he makes a great cash game play and a good tournament play, especially on DraftKings. So I like Tobias Harris here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, another power forward that I like is John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Philadelphia 76ers. John Collins has averaged 31.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He scored 27, 32, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 33, and 35 minutes. He's projected at 33 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 6,500 FanDuel salary, and he's 700 less on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites. He's playing a bunch of minutes. He's got 30 plus fantasy point upside. So I like John Collins here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, moving on to the center position. We got a couple of studs here at the center position. I like Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Atlanta Hawks. Joel Embiid has averaged 49.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 36% usage rate. He scored 65 and 64 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 34 and 38 minutes. He's projected at 56 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 11,000 FanDuel salary, and he's 700 less on DraftKings. So I like Joel Embiid here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Another stud center is Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns. Nikola Jokic has averaged 54.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He scored 50, 48, and 53 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 36, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 55 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 10,600 FanDuel salary, and he's 100 more on DraftKings. So I like Nikola Jokic here versus the Phoenix Suns. And one more center pick for you if you want to try to save some salary at the center position. Take a look at Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Philadelphia 76ers. Clint Capella has averaged 40 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He scored 18, 28, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 32, and 36 minutes. He's projected at 36 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.1 times value. He's 7,000 FanDuel salary, and he's 300 more on DraftKings. So if he can get to his season average of 40 fantasy points, he's going to crush value here tonight. So I like Clint Capella here versus the Philadelphia 76ers.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.